Welcome to my channel, Lobby 22. Hold on because it's going to be something incredible. It was 2 a.m. when Bob Wilson's world collapsed. The 35-year-old architect from Chicago stood frozen in his dimly lit garage, clutching a condom wrapper he'd just found in his wife Emily's purse. His heart pounded as if it might burst. Emily, his high school sweetheart and mother of their 2 kids, Jake, 8, and Olivia, 6, was upstairs, asleep in their cozy Lincoln Park home. They'd been married 10 years, built a life filled with soccer games, family dinners, and dreams of a lakeside cabin. How could she do this? And with whom? Bob's hands trembled as he stared at the wrapper, its shiny foil glinting under the fluorescent light. They hadn't used condoms since before Jake was born. Emily was on the pill. His mind raced, piecing together the past few weeks, her late nights at the office, the secret of phone calls, the way she'd linger in the shower after coming home. He chalked it up to stress from her marketing job. Now doubt gnawed at him like a relentless predator. He sank onto a stool, the cold concrete floor grounding his spiraling thoughts. Should he confront her? Storm upstairs and demand answers? No, he needed proof. Charging in blindly could ruin everything, his marriage, his kids' stability. Bob wasn't impulsive, he was a planner, meticulous in his designs and his life. If Emily was cheating, he'd find out how deep the betrayal ran. The next morning, Emily was her usual self, pouring coffee and packing lunches with a smile that now seemed like a mask. "You okay, hon?" she asked, her blue eyes soft but unreadable. Bob nodded, forcing a grin. "Just tired," he lied, his voice steady despite the storm inside. As she kissed him goodbye and left for work, he felt a pang of guilt for doubting her. But the wrapper burned a hole in his pocket, a silent accusation he couldn't ignore. That evening, while Emily was at a team meeting, Bob worked late in the garage on a custom bookshelf for Jake's room. The house phone rang, and he picked up the extension, expecting a telemarketer. Instead, he heard Emily's voice, low and intimate from the upstairs line. "Tyler, I miss you already," she whispered. "Can we meet at Lakeside Inn tomorrow? Room 214, noon?" Bob's blood ran cold. Tyler? His best friend since college, the guy he'd golfed with last weekend, the one who'd stood by him at their wedding? Tyler, with his easy grin and perfect life with his wife, Sophie, and their daughter? The betrayal cut deeper than he'd imagined, a double stab from the 2 people he trusted most. He stayed silent, gripping the receiver as Tyler's voice crackled through. "Can't wait, Em. It's been too long since we had a proper lunch break." The call ended with a soft laugh from Emily, and Bob gently hung up, his hands shaking. Proof. He had it now, but it wasn't enough. He needed more, something undeniable to confront them both. Over the next few days, Bob played the devoted husband, hiding his pain behind smiles and small talk. He watched Emily closely, noting her excuses for late nights and the way she'd check her phone with a secretive smile. He even invited Tyler for a beer, probing subtly. "How's Sophie doing?" Bob asked, watching Tyler's face. "Oh, she's great, busy with work," Tyler replied, his eyes darting away. Liar, Bob thought, his jaw tightening. On Friday, as Emily rushed off to help a sick coworker, Bob's suspicions hit a boiling point. He called Tyler, casually suggesting a golf game. "Sorry, man, I'm out of town this weekend," Tyler said, his voice too smooth. Bob's gut twisted. He knew Tyler was lying, likely meeting Emily somewhere. With the kids at their grandparents' lake house, Bob was alone, drowning in questions. Could he save his marriage? Did he even want to? The idea of losing Jake and Olivia tore at him, but so did the thought of living with a lie. He cracked open a beer, the first of many he planned to down that weekend, and slumped at the kitchen table. Dinner was simple, hot dogs simmering on the stove, a can of baked beans heating up. The doorbell rang, startling him. Wiping his hands, he opened the door to find Sophie, Tyler's wife, standing there. Her red hair was pulled back, her green eyes sharp with purpose. She wore a simple t-shirt and jeans, but her expression was anything but casual. "Bob, we need to talk," Sophie said, her voice steady but laced with pain. "I know about Tyler and Emily." She held up a crumpled hotel receipt from Lakeside Inn, dated last week. "I found this in his jacket. They're cheating on us, and I'm not letting them get away with it." Bob's heart raced. An ally. Someone who understood his betrayal. "How long have you known?" he asked, stepping aside to let her in. "A week," Sophie said, sitting at the kitchen table. "I hired a private investigator after finding texts on Tyler's phone. They've been meeting for months, hotels, lunches, you name it. I'm done being the naive wife." Her voice cracked, but her resolve was ironclad. "What about you? What do you want to do?" Bob poured her a glass of wine, his mind racing. "I want answers," he said. "And I want to protect my kids. Confronting them now might backfire. They could lie, or worse, fight for custody." We need proof, something solid. Sophie nodded, her eyes narrowing. Then we work together. We gather evidence, recordings, receipts, anything. We hit them where it hurts, legally. No revenge affairs, no drama. Just the truth. Bob felt a spark of hope mixed with dread. Teaming up with Sophie was a risk, but it was better than facing this alone. Deal, he said, clinking his beer against her glass. Let's make them regret this. As Sophie left, Bob stared at the condom wrapper on the counter, now joined by Sophie's receipt. The game had changed. He wasn't just a betrayed husband anymore, he was a man with a plan. But could he stay focused, or would the pain push him to cross lines he'd sworn never to touch? Bob Wilson sat at his kitchen table, the condom wrapper and Sophie's hotel receipts staring back at him like evidence in a crime scene. The Chicago night was quiet, save for the hum of the fridge and the occasional car passing by his Lincoln Park home. His kids, Jake and Olivia, were still at their grandparents' lake house, leaving Bob alone with his racing thoughts. Emily, his wife of 10 years, was cheating with his best friend, Tyler. And now Sophie, Tyler's wife, had walked into his life with a plan to fight back. Sophie sipped the wine Bob had poured, her green eyes sharp with determination. I've been through Tyler's phone, she said, setting her glass down. Texts, calls, even a calendar invite for lunch at Lakeside Inn. They've been at it for months, Bob. I'm not letting him make a fool of me. Her voice trembled slightly, betraying the hurt beneath her resolve. Bob leaned back, running a hand through his dark hair. I heard them on the phone last night, he admitted. Emily and Tyler planning a meetup tomorrow at noon. Room 214. The words felt like acid in his throat. I want to confront her, Sophie, but what if she lies? What if she takes the kids? The thought of losing Jake and Olivia twisted his gut. They were his world, Jake with his love for soccer, Olivia with her endless questions about the stars. Sophie nodded, her jaw tight. That's why we need proof. Something they can't deny. I've already got my investigator tailing Tyler, but we can do more. We can record their calls, track their meetings. If we're smart, we'll have everything we need for a divorce or to make them stop. Bob hesitated. Divorce. The word hung heavy like a storm cloud over his carefully built life. Could he forgive Emily? Did he even want to? I'm in, he said finally, meeting Sophie's gaze. But we keep it clean. No revenge affairs, no dirty tricks. Just the truth. Agreed, Sophie said, a faint smile breaking through her anger. I'm not about to stoop to their level. My daughter, Lily, deserves better than a mother who plays games. She pulled out her phone and showed Bob a photo of a receipt from Lakeside Inn, time-stamped last week. This is just the start. My investigator says they meet every Wednesday at noon. We can set up a plan to catch them. Bob's mind raced. He wasn't a tech guy, but he knew enough to figure out how to tap a phone line. I've got an old voice recorder in the garage, he said. We could hook it up to the house phone. If Emily's using it to talk to Tyler, we'll have their conversations on tape. Sophie raised an eyebrow, impressed. Smart. I'll do the same at my place. Tyler's too cocky to think we're onto him. He's been sloppy, leaving receipts, texting her on his work phone. We'll use that against them. Over the next hour, they mapped out a strategy. Bob would buy a second recorder to monitor Emily's calls, while Sophie would keep her investigator on Tyler's trail. They'd meet weekly at a quiet diner downtown, away from prying eyes, to share findings. It felt like plotting a heist, but instead of stealing jewels, they were stealing back their dignity. As Sophie stood to leave, she paused at the door. Bob, this isn't just about evidence. It's about taking control. They betrayed us, but we're not victims. Not anymore. Her words hit like a spark, igniting something in Bob he hadn't felt since finding that wrapper, purpose. The next morning, Bob drove to a local electronics store and bought 2 voice-activated recorders and extra tapes. He spent the afternoon in the garage, carefully wiring one to the house phone line, hidden behind a stack of old paint cans. Emily was at work, oblivious, and the kids wouldn't be back until Sunday. He tested the setup, calling his own cell from the house line. The recorder clicked on, capturing every word. It worked. That evening, Emily came home late, her hair slightly mussed, her smile too bright. Rough day at the office, she said, kissing Bob's cheek. He nodded, his stomach churning as he pictured her with Tyler in room 214. You must be exhausted, he said, keeping his tone neutral. Want me to heat up some dinner? You're sweet, Emily said, heading upstairs to shower. Bob waited until he heard the water running, then checked the recorder. Nothing yet, just a telemarketer call from earlier. But he knew it was only a matter of time. On Wednesday, Bob sat at his desk in his downtown architecture firm pretending to review blueprints. His phone buzzed at 12:30 p.m., a text from Sophie. Investigators saw them enter Lakeside Inn. Room 214. Got photos? Bob's jaw clenched. He wanted to drive there, barge in, and end this charade. But Sophie's words echoed, "Keep it clean." He texted back, "Good. Check your recorder tonight. Let's meet tomorrow." That night, Bob waited until Emily was asleep before slipping into the garage. The recorder had caught something, a call from 1:15 p.m. He pressed play, his heart pounding. Emily's voice came through, soft and secretive. "Tyler, today was amazing, but we need to be careful. Bob's been quiet lately. I think he's stressed, but what if he suspects?" Tyler laughed, the sound grating on Bob's nerves. "He's clueless, Em. Just keep playing the perfect wife. We'll figure out a way to make this work long-term." Bob stopped the tape, his hands shaking with rage. Long-term? They were planning a future behind his back. He thought of Jake's soccer games, Olivia's bedtime stories, his family, his life, all at risk. But then Sophie's plan flashed in his mind. Evidence. Control. He wasn't helpless anymore. The next day, Bob met Sophie at a corner booth in a diner on Michigan Avenue. She slid a manila envelope across the table, her expression grim. "Photos from yesterday," she said. "Tyler and Emily walking into the hotel. My investigator's good, nobody saw him." Bob opened the envelope, his breath catching at the sight of Emily, arm in arm with Tyler, smiling like she used to smile at him. "There's more," Sophie said, pulling out a small tape. "From my recorder. Tyler called her this morning, whining about money. Apparently, Emily's been paying for their hotel rooms. She's draining your savings, Bob." Bob's anger flared, but a new emotion crept in. Betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was financial. "She's using our kids' college fund?" he asked, his voice low. Sophie nodded. "We need to move fast. If we get enough evidence, we can protect your finances and my daughter's future. But there's something else." She hesitated, her eyes searching his. "I heard Emily tell Tyler she feels guilty. She said she loves you and might end it. What does that mean for you?" Bob froze. Guilt? Love? His mind spun. Could Emily's feelings be real, or was it another lie to keep him in the dark? He thought of confronting her, imagining her tears, her excuses. But then he saw Jake and Olivia's faces, their trust in him. He couldn't let them down. "I don't know if I can forgive her," Bob said finally. "But I need to know the truth about her, about the kids, about everything. Let's keep going. More recordings, more proof." Sophie reached across the table, squeezing his hand briefly. "We're in this together, Bob. They don't get to win." As he drove home, Bob felt a strange mix of dread and determination. Emily's guilt changed nothing, she'd still betrayed him. But Sophie's touch lingered, a reminder that he wasn't alone. The plan was in motion, but a new question gnawed at him. If Emily wanted to stop, could he trust her again? Or was this just the beginning of a deeper betrayal? Bob Wilson's heart raced as he sat in his Lincoln Park garage, the voice recorder whirring softly in the dim light. It was late Thursday night, and Emily was asleep upstairs, oblivious to the trap he and Sophie had set. The Chicago skyline glimmered faintly through the window, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in Bob's mind. For weeks, he and Sophie, Tyler's betrayed wife, had been gathering evidence of Emily and Tyler's affair, recordings, photos, hotel receipts. Each piece tightened the noose around their lies, but Bob still wrestled with a nagging question: could he ever trust Emily again? The recorder held a new tape from today's calls. Bob pressed play, bracing himself. Emily's voice crackled through, low and cautious. "Tyler, we need to cool it for a while," she said. "Bob's been acting off. He's quiet, distracted. I think he's on to us." Bob's grip tightened on the device. She knew he was suspicious, yet she hadn't confessed. Tyler's voice came next, smug and dismissive. "He's got nothing, Em. You're just paranoid. Let's meet next week, same time, Lakeside Inn." Bob stopped the tape, his jaw clenched. Paranoid? He wasn't paranoid, he was awake. Emily's guilt, her supposed love for him, felt like a performance now. And Tyler's arrogance fueled Bob's resolve. He texted Sophie, "New recording. Emily's worried I suspect something. They're planning another meetup." Sophie replied instantly, "Got one, too. Tyler's complaining about money again. Meet tomorrow at the diner, 10 a.m. The next morning, Bob slipped out early, telling Emily he had a client meeting. She kissed him goodbye, her smile as convincing as ever. "Don't work too hard, hon," she said, her voice sweet but hollow. Bob nodded, his stomach twisting. Every touch, every word from her felt like a lie now. He drove to the diner on Michigan Avenue where Sophie waited in their usual booth, her expression a mix of anger and exhaustion. "Listen to this," Sophie said, sliding a small tape across the table. Her investigator had sent more photos, Emily and Tyler entering Lakeside Inn 2 days ago, their hands brushing as they walked. Bob's chest tightened at the sight, but Sophie's tape was worse. Tyler's voice, recorded yesterday, was sharp with frustration. "Emily, you've got to stop paying for the rooms. It's killing me to lie to Sophie about where my money's going. She's asking questions. Bob's eyes widened. She's still using our savings? He asked, his voice low. Sophie nodded. My investigator tracked your joint account. She's withdrawn $2,000 in the last month, cash, no trace. Probably for their little getaways. Bob's anger surged. That money was for Jake and Olivia's future, college, summer camps, their dreams. Emily wasn't just stealing his trust, she was stealing from their kids. We need more than recordings, Bob said, leaning forward. If we're going to court, we need something ironclad, dates, times, proof of the money trail. Sophie agreed, pulling out a notebook. My investigator can get bank records, but we need to be strategic. If we confront them too soon, they'll cover their tracks. We keep playing dumb, keep recording. Bob nodded, but doubt crept in. Playing dumb meant living a lie, pretending to love a wife who betrayed him. Every night, Emily would curl up next to him, her warmth a cruel reminder of her deception. Could he keep this up without breaking? And what about Sophie? Her strength was inspiring, but her pain mirrored his own. Their weekly meetings were becoming a lifeline, a shared defiance against their spouse's betrayal. Over the next week, Bob and Sophie tightened their plan. Bob checked the recorder daily, capturing more calls. Emily and Tyler were growing careless, planning meetings over the house phone, assuming Bob was clueless. One recording was particularly damning. Emily, giggling, saying, Tyler, if Bob ever finds out, I'll just cry and say it was a mistake. He'll forgive me. He always does. Bob's blood boiled. A mistake? Their months-long affair was no accident. It was a choice, repeated over and over. Sophie's investigator delivered a bombshell on Tuesday, a credit card statement showing Tyler had booked a weekend getaway at Lakeside Inn for next month, paid for with Bob and Emily's joint account. This is it, Sophie said at their next diner meeting, her eyes blazing. We've got them. Hotel records, bank statements, recordings. If we take this to a lawyer, they're done. Bob stared at the documents, his mind racing. But what if Emily's serious about stopping, he asked. She told Tyler she feels guilty. What if she means it? Sophie's face softened, but her voice was firm. Bob, guilt doesn't erase what she's done. She's lying to you, using your money, planning more meetings. You heard her, she thinks she can manipulate you with tears. Don't fall for it. Bob swallowed hard. Sophie was right, but the thought of confronting Emily terrified him. What would it do to Jake and Olivia? He pictured their confused faces, asking why Mommy and Daddy weren't together anymore. I need to know she's done with him, he said finally. One more recording, something that shows her true intentions. Then we go to a lawyer. Sophie nodded, but her expression shifted, a flicker of hesitation. There's something else, she said, lowering her voice. My investigator overheard Tyler talking to a coworker. He's bragging about having it all, a wife at home and Emily on the side. He's not planning to stop Bob. And if Emily's still meeting him, she's not either. The words hit like a punch. Bob's hope, fragile as it was, shattered. Emily wasn't just cheating, she was complicit in a double life, mocking their marriage. He thought of the nights he'd held her, believing her lies. Okay, he said, his voice steady despite the rage. We set a trap. Next week, when they meet, we get undeniable proof, photos, recordings, everything. Sophie leaned forward, her eyes intense. I know a guy who can install a hidden camera in the hotel lobby. Nothing illegal, just public spaces. If we catch them walking in together, it's over. But Bob, you need to be ready for what comes next. Confronting them means no going back. Bob nodded, his resolve hardening. I'm ready. For Jake, for Olivia, for me. But as he said it, a new fear crept in. What if Emily's guilt was real? What if she begged for forgiveness? Could he walk away from 10 years of love, even after all this? And why did Sophie's presence, her strength, her shared pain, make him feel less alone than he had in months? As he drove home, the city lights blurred through his windshield. Emily was waiting, her smile as fake as ever. You're late, she said, kissing his cheek. Everything okay? Bob forced a smile, his heart heavy. Just work, he lied, slipping past her to check the recorder. The game of cat and mouse was on, but Bob wasn't sure who was the predator and who was the prey. One thing was certain, the truth was coming, and it would change everything. Bob Wilson's hands shook as he sat in his Chicago office, staring at the grainy photo Sophie had sent. It showed Emily and Tyler slipping into Lakeside Inn's lobby, their shoulders brushing, her smile a dagger in Bob's heart. For weeks, he and Sophie had played a meticulous game of cat and mouse, gathering evidence of their spouse's affair, recordings, receipts, bank statements. But now, a new recording from last night had flipped everything upside down, leaving Bob torn between rage and a flicker of hope. The tape, pulled from the hidden recorder in his garage, captured Emily's voice, trembling with guilt. Tyler, this has to stop, she'd said. I love Bob. I can't keep lying to him. We're done. Tyler's response was cold, almost mocking. You'll miss me, Em. You always come back. Bob had replayed it a dozen times, each word a battle between his heart and his head. Did Emily mean it? Could she really love him after months of betrayal? Or was this another lie to keep him in the dark? He drove to the Michigan Avenue diner, the city's hum a dull roar in his ears. Sophie was already there, her face etched with worry. She slid a USB drive across the table. My investigator got footage from the hotel lobby camera, she said. It's them, Bob, yesterday after Emily's so-called breakup call. They didn't stop. They went to room 214, same as always. Bob's stomach churned. The hope he clung to shattered like glass. Emily wasn't ending it, she was playing both sides. There's more, Sophie said, her voice low. My investigator dug into your joint account. Emily withdrew another $1,500 last week. She's still funding their meetups using your kids' college savings. Bob's fists clenched. Jake's soccer camp, Olivia's art classes, their dreams were being stolen for hotel rooms and lies. How could she? He whispered, his voice breaking. Sophie leaned forward, her eyes fierce but kind. She's manipulating you, Bob. She says she's guilty to keep you off guard, but she's still meeting him. We have enough now: recordings, photos, bank records. We can take this to a lawyer, protect your kids, your money. But you need to decide what you want. Bob's mind spun. He'd spent 10 years building a life with Emily, family vacations, late-night talks, promises of forever. Could he throw it away? He thought of Olivia's curious eyes asking why he looked sad at dinner last night. Daddy, are you okay? She'd said, her small hand on his. Bob had smiled, lying to protect her, but the memory burned. He couldn't let his kids grow up in a house built on deception. I want to confront her, Bob said finally. But I need one last piece of proof, something she can't talk her way out of. Sophie nodded, pulling out her phone. My investigator can get a final recording next Wednesday. They're meeting again, same hotel, same time. We'll have everything, video, audio, the money trail. But Bob, be honest with yourself. Can you forgive her after this? Bob looked away, the question cutting deep. Forgiveness felt like a betrayal of himself, yet walking away meant tearing his family apart. He thought of Jake's laughter, the way Olivia hugged him before bed. Could he stay for them, even if Emily broke his trust? And Sophie, her strength, her shared pain, was she just an ally, or was he starting to lean on her too much? That evening, Bob came home to find Emily in the kitchen humming as she cooked dinner. You're in a good mood, he said, forcing a smile. She turned, her eyes bright. Just happy to see you, she said, kissing his cheek. Her warmth felt like a lie, but her words echoed the recording. I love Bob. He wanted to believe her, but the photos, the withdrawals, the hotel room told a different story. Later, as Emily read to the kids, Bob checked the recorder. Another call from Tyler, smug as ever. Em, you're not serious about ending this, are you? You need me. Emily's voice was firm but shaky. I meant it, Tyler. I'm done. I want my marriage back. Bob's heart skipped. Was she telling the truth? Or was this a performance for Tyler, too? The next week was torture. Bob went through the motions: work, dinners, bedtime stories, while watching Emily for signs of deceit. She seemed different, more attentive, asking about his day, planning a family picnic. Was it guilt or a genuine change? Sophie's texts kept him grounded. Stay focused. We're close. On Tuesday, her investigator confirmed Tyler had booked room 214 for Wednesday, paid with Bob's money. Emily hadn't canceled. Wednesday morning, Bob kissed Emily goodbye, his heart heavy. Have a good day, she said, smiling. He nodded, knowing she'd be at Lakeside Inn by noon. Sophie met him at the diner, her face grim. The camera's set, she said. We'll have footage by tonight. My investigator's also tracking Tyler's phone. He's been texting Emily nonstop, pushing her to meet. She's not saying no. Bob's resolve hardened. Let's end this, he said. That night, Sophie sent the footage. Emily and Tyler, entering the hotel, her hand in his. The recorder caught their call afterward. Emily, tearful, saying, Tyler, this was the last time. I can't lose Bob. Tyler laughed. You'll change your mind. You always do. Bob sat in the garage, the evidence overwhelming. Emily's words tugged at him. She wanted to stop, but she hadn't. She'd chosen Tyler again, used their savings again. The betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was a calculated theft of their family's future. But her tears, her pleas, were they real? Could he confront her and still keep his kids safe? Sophie called, her voice steady. We've got everything, Bob. Lawyers ready to meet tomorrow. But there's something else. She paused, her tone softening. I found a letter in Tyler's desk. He wrote to Emily, saying he loves her, wants to leave me for her. What if she feels the same? What if she's planning to take your kids and go? Bob's breath caught. A letter? The idea of Emily leaving, taking Jake and Olivia, was a nightmare he hadn't considered. His anger flared, but so did his fear. He needed to act now. Set the meeting with the lawyer, he said. I'm done waiting. As he hung up, Bob looked at a photo of Jake and Olivia on his phone, their smiles bright. He'd do anything to protect them, even if it meant tearing his marriage apart. But Emily's words haunted him. I want my marriage back. Was there a chance to save it? Or was this the final lie? The truth was coming, and it would change everything. Bob Wilson sat in the sterile office of a Chicago divorce lawyer, the weight of the past month pressing down on him. The manila folder on the desk held everything. Recordings of Emily and Tyler's secret calls, photos of them entering Lakeside Inn, bank statements showing Emily's withdrawals from their joint account, and the bombshell, a letter from Tyler to Emily, declaring his love and urging her to leave Bob. Sophie, his unexpected ally, sat beside him, her presence a quiet anchor in the storm of betrayal. The lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Karen, flipped through the evidence. This is airtight, she said. You've got enough for a strong case, divorce, financial restitution, and custody protection. What do you want, Bob? Bob's mind flashed to Jake and Olivia, their innocent smiles at last night's dinner. He wanted them safe, their future secure. But Emily's words from the latest recording haunted him. I want my marriage back. Could she mean it? Or was it another lie? Bob had spent the night replaying the final tape. Emily's voice, tearful but resolute, told Tyler, this is over. I love Bob, and I'm telling him everything. Tyler's response was venomous. You'll regret this, Em. I'm not letting you go. The call ended with Emily sobbing, and Bob's heart twisted. Was she genuine, or was this her final act to save face? The evidence, $3, $500 drained from their savings, weekly hotel meetups, Tyler's letter screamed deception. Yet her tears felt real. Sophie broke the silence. Bob, you can't trust her. She's been lying for months, using your kids' money. That letter proves Tyler's serious about taking her away. You need to protect Jake and Olivia. Her voice was firm, but her eyes held a flicker of pain. Her own marriage to Tyler was crumbling too. Bob nodded, his resolve hardening. I want a divorce, he told Karen. Joint custody, full financial accountability. I can't live with someone who'd steal from our kids. Karen outlined the plan. Serve Emily divorce papers, demand repayment of the misused funds, and secure joint custody. Sophie's evidence would ensure Tyler faced consequences. 2. His employer had a strict ethics policy, and the affair could cost him his job. We'll move fast, Karen said. File tomorrow, confront her after. You ready? Bob swallowed hard. Yeah, for my kids. That evening, Bob came home to find Emily setting the table, her smile tentative. Family dinner tonight, she said, her voice soft. Jake and Olivia bounded in, laughing about a school project. Bob's chest ached. He wanted this life, this family. But the folder in his briefcase burned with the truth. After the kids went to bed, Emily sat him down. Bob, I need to tell you something, she said, her eyes glistening. I've been unfaithful with Tyler. I'm so sorry. It's over, I swear. I love you. Bob's heart stopped. Her confession, unprompted, hit harder than he'd expected. He wanted to believe her, to hold her and forget the pain. But the images of her with Tyler, the drained savings, the letter, it was too much. I know, he said, his voice steady but cold. I've known for weeks, Emily. I have proof for recordings, photos, bank statements. You've been using our kids' money for your affair. And Tyler's letter begging you to leave me. Emily's face crumpled, tears streaming. Bob, please, I ended it. I was weak, stupid. I don't want Tyler, I want us. For Jake, for Olivia. She reached for his hand, but he pulled back. You stole from our kids, he said. You lied, planned a life with him. How can I trust you again? Emily sobbed, begging for a second chance, but Bob's heart had hardened. He handed her the divorce papers Karen had prepared. "We're done," he said. "I'm doing this for our kids." The next week was a blur. Emily moved to her sister's, agreeing to joint custody after a tearful mediation. The bank records forced her to repay the $3,500, draining her personal savings. Tyler's employer caught wind of the scandal. Sophie had leaked the evidence anonymously, and he was fired for violating company ethics. Sophie filed for divorce, too, gaining full custody of their daughter, Lily, and starting a small marketing consultancy to rebuild her life. Bob focused on Jake and Olivia, shielding them from the worst. One night, as he tucked Olivia into bed, she asked, "Why is Mommy not here?" Bob's throat tightened. "Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes," he said, brushing her hair back. "But I'll always be here for you and Jake." Olivia hugged him, and for the first time in weeks, Bob felt a flicker of peace. Months later, Bob stood in his new apartment, smaller but filled with the kids' laughter. He kept their old house in the divorce, but sold it to start fresh. Sophie dropped by with coffee, her smile brighter than before. "How's it going?" she asked. Bob shrugged. "Better. The kids are adjusting. I'm learning to trust again, just not blindly." Sophie nodded, her own divorce final. "Lily's happy," she said. "And I'm opening the consultancy. New beginnings, right?" Bob smiled, a real one this time. He'd lost his marriage, but gained something else, clarity. He'd never let betrayal define him again. As he watched Jake kick a soccer ball in the yard, Olivia sketching beside him, Bob made a silent vow to protect his kids, to value honesty, and to keep his heart open even after the pain. The future was uncertain, but for the first time it felt like his own.